Hey everyone, welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a large family living off-grid in Australia. It is Friday today, and I am so far behind videos and everything else, it's not funny. I put a video out on Monday, which was my normal Sunday squirrel. Normally I would have a video on Wednesday and Friday, except that I just didn't manage it. There's been a lot going on. I went to pick up the car that we were gifted and do all the stuff that needs to be done. Like had to get the insurance sorted and the rego sorted and transfer registration and all that sort of thing. So I did all that, and I had to catch a bus down to Brisbane to do all that. So we got that done. It's also school holidays at the moment, and I have realised that that has put a real crimp in things, because we don't, prior to swapping the schooling style, we didn't have school holidays as such. We used to just school all the way through, except for sort of an 8-week period over Christmas, because I just didn't find it was necessary. We just did shorter days the entire year round. But because there's school holidays currently, the kids are in my face a lot, which is pretty normal. Like, they're in my face a lot even on school days, but more so. There's less independent time. They just tend to be around a whole lot more, or just in the vicinity where they're making lots of noise or whatever, Anyway, they're around a lot more, and it has impacted my ability to film, because I don't tend to film if they're around directly, because they're loud. But I still have issues with talking to a camera with an audience as well, which is really strange because I'm talking to an audience, but that's, the way it is. So I have just gotten behind. Now, the kids go back to school next week, but we do have some prep work to do in the lead up to that, so I have to make sure I do that. But I also it's hamper day tomorrow, and I'm shopping next week, so I also have all the prep that needs to go into doing all that, as well as all my standard work. So I had some transcription typing come in this week. It only comes in every now and again these days. It's not very regular. And I sent out a whole bunch of stuff to Thermomix customers as a thank you for all the sales recently, so I had to do all that postage up and everything else. And then I've been playing with the 3D printers and the new laser engraver, and just there's a lot going on and a lot to be done in the next week that I need to get on top of. So today is going to be a bit of a catch-up day, except that I spent all morning typing and it's already 12:30. So we're already starting behind the 8 ball, and it's freezing. It poured last night and it was warm while it rained, and now that the rain has passed, it's cold. It's not that cold compared to a lot of people, but it's pretty chilly. We also had 10 turkey babies hatch while I was gone. So the mum had been nesting out in the bush, and she came back with her 10 babies the day that I got back. And we actually collected them up and stuck them in the brooder overnight, because we didn't have a pen to put her in yet, and it was too dangerous to leave her loose overnight with predators and stuff. So we took the babies overnight, put them in the brooder overnight. They both yelled to each other all night. And then the next day we got the pen set up properly for her with shelter and everything, and full of hay and that, so she could be loose in the pen with the babies. And then it poured last night, but everyone survived. So we have 10 turkey babies, as well as the mama in a pen, and the other turkey female that we have is on a nest as well at the moment, so we're keeping an eye on her. So we had that happen as well. It's just been a lot. So yeah, hamper tomorrow. Also have to get ready for all the groceries, and then I'm going to be gone for a few days in the first week of their school, which should be okay. I'll set them up before I go. But yeah, just a lot. So first thing I have to do is I actually put some soybeans on to soak last night, because I have a miso kit that I have been meaning to make. So I got a miso kit from Rice Culture. This is the brand here, Rice Culture. So I was just going to buy some koji and make my own, but I decided to buy the kits from Rice Culture because that way it just all came together. It comes with some alcohol wipes, it comes with plastic buckets, it comes with the salt and the koji and the soybeans and everything that I need to do to make it. So I decided to buy the kit. Now you want to start your miso in a cooler weather and let it finish fermenting in the warm weather, but it takes 6 months all up. So it's a long-winded thing, but we're going to do this. So I'm going to start it now while it's cool. So I soaked my soybeans overnight. I need to rinse them off, and then they need to go in a pot on the stove and boil until soft. So 3-ish hours. So I want to get that started before I pull anything else out. Now I bought 2 kits because they have 2 different types of koji that I wanted to try. So we've got 2 kits worth of soybeans in here, covered, rinsed, soaked, rinsed, covered with clean water, and we're going to put them on to boil. Now the kits come with full instructions. They come in there with their own little bucket to make it in. I do have a fermenting crock, but I probably will just make it in the bucket just to make my life easier, make it easier to sanitize the bucket and everything. And they come with, my hands are cold and sore. They come with the salt that you need, the soybeans. We've got alcohol wipes and gloves if you want them in the little kits to make it. And then it was the koji, and I contacted them and asked if I could have one of each type of koji. So I've got a white koji and a brown, and I'm going to try one of each batch. So this is your culture, your bacteria, whatever you want to call it, that is going to turn the soybeans into miso. So we have these, we have 2 buckets, we're going to do 2 lots. So that will take like 3 hours to boil. You want them soft enough to squish between your fingers. There is full instructions that come with every kit. I have made a small batch of miso before, but never on this scale, but I do really like it. I love it in a lot of things, in marinades for like chicken wings and stuff. I adore it. Darryl's not as keen on it, but you know, they eat what I make, and that's what's going to happen. So we're going to put this aside for the moment, but the soybeans are boiling for that. Okay, so while they're boiling, because they're going to take a few hours, I'm going to work on other stuff. I'm going to do a beef curry for dinner, so I've pulled out one of the rumps, or Darryl pulled it out for me, and I'm going to cut some of this up to do for dinner tonight. And might fry some off for lunch as well, because we haven't done anything for lunch. There is a really huge overabundance of eggs at the moment, so if you wanted like some scrambled eggs or something with a bit of beef or something, but I'll at least start getting this cut up. Ideally I'd get it all cut up, and then that way it's easy to use over the next few days, but we'll see how I go. Alright, now these are full rumps, so they have different sections on them that are better for certain things. So with the curry, it's going to cook for a couple of hours, so the more muscular section of this will work. But I'm just going to, so we've got some muscle points in parts of this, so I'm going to use that for the curry, and the other bits I'll slice up for the thin eating. Before I start the beef curry and move on to doing anything else, I'm going to put the yogurt on, because if I put it on now and I put it on for say 18 hours, it'll be ready in the morning, and I can pull it out. Now I'm just going to use the 2 litre Louvel. I've been using the jars instead lately, but I bought the cherries because those jars apparently fit really well, and I haven't had a chance to use the cherries yet, so I'm not going to use them right now. I'm just going to use the normal 2 litre. We're mostly using it for pancake bake at the moment, so it's not such a big deal. I also went to find my culture, because I haven't got any yogurt to use, and found that there's a great big hole has been smashed in my culture jar, so I've transferred it to a little glass jar, but I've lost some in the process, and that always sucks. So for my yogurt, I do 100 to 200 grams of milk powder per 2 litres. And this is just Aldi's milk powder, just a standard milk powder. Alrighty. Now I'm not using yogurt, so I've got the space to put 200 in, so I'll put 200 in. I'm going to do a pinch or 1/8 of a teaspoon, or a bit less. We don't need, that will be plenty of culture. I need to find a lid for that, stick that in the fridge. It's now all moist because it's been stuffed up. Anyway, I'm going to do that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add UHT milk. I use UHT milk because it means I don't have to heat it. So if I was using fresh milk, I'd have to heat the milk and then let it cool. So I've already got the yogurt maker warming up because it's a cold day. And all I'm going to do is blend this milk powder and that culture into this first half of the milk. Now I do have some calcium chloride drops, which do help to thicken it, or not, because someone has cleaned out the door of my fridge and probably thrown it not knowing what it is. So that's superb. So, you know, my day is going well. I've got a bit of milk powder stuck down the bottom there because I just washed this jar. All right, So we're just gonna go with it. It's gonna be for baking anyway, so even if it's a bit thin or whatever, it'll be fine. It's going to be fermented, and that's the main issue, is that the kids don't tolerate dairy very well. They used to have severe reactions to it. It has reduced as they've gotten older, which is to be expected. The allergist said to try them on fermented dairy a while back, and we did, and they seem to have really had no problems with the fermented dairy. So we do yogurt now, and so the main thing is that it's fermented milk. Even if it ends up being runny, like a drinking yogurt, we're going to use it in baking, so it's not such a big deal. But it annoys me that all my plans have been skewed again. So 2 litres of yogurt, it's got culture, milk powder. That's it for today. I'm going to put it into the Louvel and set the timer at 30. I'm going to set it at 38 and set it for 18 hours. All right, now I'm going to clean this up to get started on the curry. All right, now onto the curry. We're going to do some onion, some garlic and some ginger. Some of my onions are a bit old. Slice this up as well. All right, so I've got some ghee melting in the pan. I'm just going to add this onion. I'm also going to add some garlic and ginger stuff, so I'm just going to use this. And just use probably a couple of large spoonfuls in the bottom of that. And we're going to saute this off together, and then I'm going to add some more spices and stuff to it. So I've just got it in the Dutch oven. So I'm just going to let this cook and soften up on a sort of a low heat before I start adding the curry powder and stuff to it to cook off as well. But my battery is apparently low on my mic, so I'm going to go plug that in for the 5 minutes that this takes to sweat down. All right, I diced up about 3 carrots and put it through as well. I like carrots in my curries because I think it adds a sweetness. Got about half a tablespoon of mustard seeds, and we're going to put, say, 2 tablespoons of curry powder. I use the Baba's meat curry. And we're also going to put some turmeric in. So, some turmeric in there as well. And then we're going to cook that off in that little bit of fat and moisture from the carrots and onions. Alrighty. Alright, now we're going to add a dash of vinegar. Just got some apple cider here. Deglaze the pan a little bit with that. I've got a tin of crushed tomatoes. This is an 800 gram tin. So a tin of crushed tomatoes. We're going to add sort of 2 tablespoons of cowboy candy, which will give it sweetness as well as a little bit of a different spice to the curry powder. And then I've got about 1.5 kilos of this small diced rump. So this is a fairly quick cook meat, unlike my my stewing chuck beef. So it's in nice small pieces, but it's also a pretty quick meat anyway. And we're going to have a look at, so the beef will create some liquid as well. I do need to add a bit of beef bouillon or something though. So I'm just going to add a tablespoon of the Massel's beef, and we'll taste that later. If I had Thermomix stock paste, I'd use that, but I don't have any at the moment. I need to make some more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this come up to temperature and see what the consistency is like and things like that. And basically it's going to cook for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever it takes. I'll put the lid on as needed, add a bit more liquid, but we're going to add some coconut cream to this later on. So I want it nice and thick to start with, and then we'll add the coconut cream, thin it out a little bit. And I'll probably do rice with this. I think, and some steamed veg, maybe steamed veg, rice and the curry. We'll see how we go. So that's basically it. I'm just going to let it cook and we'll taste it afterwards. I'm going to put a lid half on it so it doesn't splatter everywhere as tomato products generally do though. I've still got these soybeans boiling. The beans are squishable, so we're pretty much there. They just feel a little bit gritty still, so I'm going to take them just a little bit longer because I can while I clean everything else up, and I'll bring you back. Actually, before I move on to the miso, I have been seeing this like 2-ingredient onion ring thing going around, where you basically do a layer of parmesan with onion rings on top. And I pulled out what looked like a nice onion when I was doing the other stuff. And I thought, while I'm in the kitchen and can watch it, because the whole point is that I'm not real sure how long it's going to take to cook. And this is the sort of thing that once it burns, it's not going to be very tasty. So, a nice, freshish looking onion here that I'm going to slice really nice and thin. A mandolin or something would be handy for this sort of thing, but this is just a test run anyway. Now I'm going to grab, I've got some parmesan. And from what I saw, all we're going to do is put a thinnish layer of parmesan on a tray, and then we're going to lay our onion rings over it. Middles are falling out of my onion rings. Just like that sort of a thing. And then we bake it. Salt and pepper, if you want some salt and pepper. Other seasonings, some people used other seasonings as well. I'm just going to go with a little bit of black pepper and a little bit of salt. Though with that much cheese, I wouldn't think it would need much in the way of salt. But we'll do that, and then we will see what happens. Just because I had onions out, I saw that I had parmesan in the fridge still, and I'm doing groceries this week, and I keep on seeing it on YouTube, so we're going to give that a go. Alright, I may as well just dice up this little bit of leftover onion and throw it in the pot with the curry. So I got called away. I don't know how long this has been going for now, but you can see that it's already created a lot of its own juices and stuff there, so that's working well. So this is just going to continue to simmer for the next hour or two, and that will be dinner tonight. The soybeans are ready to go, so I'm just sanitizing my space so that I can get to the next step of those. Okay, first thing we need to do is sanitize the tools that we're using. It comes with some alcohol swabs, but I've got some isopropyl alcohol inside as well that I might grab because I'm doing these 2 batches at the same time, and we've got such a dirty environment here. So another one that we're going to do the inside of these pails, which should be pretty clean because all they've done is had the storage of the packaging, but we're just going to remove the risk of contaminants on that, as well as the inside of the lid. Let the alcohol evaporate. So we need to soak the koji first. I'm not sure if the glass containers I got are large enough actually. Now I was going to soak these in here, but I just don't know if this container is going to be big enough. or this one for that matter, because it's 400 grams and then I need to add 100 grams of water. We will see. So we'll just let that evaporate for a second. I'm going to sanitize my colander as well. We need to keep some of the liquid aside as well, so which I could keep in a jug if I'm not going to use a jug for this. So I might see if this fits in this Pyrex bowl. That should be fine. So we'll put that in the Pyrex bowl. I'll grab another Pyrex bowl for the other one. And we will put, this is already sanitized, so I'll put some filtered water in here. And we're going to put 100 grams of water, filtered water, in this nice clean jug into here to hydrate. I'm going to get a spatula that I will sanitize as well, and I need another one of these. I just remembered I've got the onion rings in the oven because I got so distracted and sidetracked. Alright, so let's just let that dry. And then, I know, I'm all over the place. It's par for the course these days, isn't it? So now we've got the white rice koji and the 100 grams of water. Oh, I missed the, that was a close call. All right. So we're just going to agitate that a little bit so that it gets moistened all the way over. Try not to, bigger containers would have been better, but I just don't have anything super handy that's easy to sanitize. I wanted to use glass rather than plastic because plastic just holds so many things. So we're just going to leave this for, it says 15 minutes. So that's the white one and the brown one. I'm not concerned about cross-contamination between the two kojis, of course. And we will let that one sit for a bit. And I will strain the soybeans in the meantime. And it says to keep aside at least 500 mils of liquid in case you need it. Now I sanitized this bowl and the potato masher. You can use a food processor or something, but the only thing I've got is the Thermomix, and I just don't like I'd have to run a cycle with vinegar and stuff in it to get it to really be, you know, sort of sanitized enough, I suppose. But I'm supposed to turn this into a mash, and I just don't know if I will be able to with my wrists and stuff are already killing me. It's been a bit of a crappy day pain-wise for that. So I may need to use, maybe I'll use an immersion blender, because that would be a whole lot easier for me to sanitize than a Thermomix bowl. But a Thermomix bowl would give me a much smoother finish too. And even though they are super soft, they're not proving to mush up real easy, so maybe I need that. Oh, this is all turning into a much larger job than I really have the brain power for today. As I said, while this is hot, it's not such a big deal either, because I'm nothing's going on it while it's this hot, and you have to cool it down before adding all the stuff to it. But I'm going to give the blade a good clean. I totally forgot I was doing this in amongst everything else. I've obviously bitten off more than I can chew with doubling this batch. You know, there's some issues, but this crunchy, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to break some off. I'm going to try some. I'm going to get Darryl to try some. And yeah, I forgot though that it was cooking. All right, I didn't weigh the cooked soybeans, so I don't know how much is half. So I'm going to have to figure that out as well. But we need to mix the koji with the salt. So we want 185 grams of salt for each batch of koji. So we've got the white koji here with the water, semi-hydrated. This is the bacteria basically. It's the fungus or bacteria or whatever is growing on the rice, and that's what creates the Miso. Yeah. So then we want to mix that well through the salt. Use your hands is the suggestion. They do give you gloves if you want to use it, but I'm just washing my hands in between every time I touch anything, which I find easier than using gloves. And so we're just going to break that salt up in amongst all this koji. And now we have to also, the beans need to be between say 35 and 40, like body temp. Any hotter and it can kill the bacteria, like with yogurts or anything like that. So we're waiting for that to cool down a little bit as well. The stuff in the Thermomix is saying it's at 50. So we need it to come down a bit further, which is why I'm doing this in the meantime. And I should have broken up that salt before because this is not great on my hands. All right, so that is blended through. So we're going to just pour that into the bowl that we're going to end up adding the soy into it. And then we've got the other salt. They come with the salt to add in, but also you salt the top of the tub, which is why there's a bit more than 185 in each bag. And then we'll add the brown koji into that we've let sit with that water. Oh, it smells interesting. Didn't get that much of a smell from the white one, but the brown one definitely has a bit of a smell to it, which is pleasant. Like, miso is one of those smells that's funky but almost sweet and pleasant as well. And you either like it or you don't. I really like it. As I said, Darryl's not a huge fan, but I can't squeeze that anymore. It's really, really killing me. Definitely a much stronger smell on the brown than the white. Oh, and the onion rings were a hit. Darryl really liked them and I quite liked them as well. Okay, now this koji has been sitting out and is cool enough that we're going to look at adding some of this. So the dry weight of the soybeans was 500 grams. Realistically, it's probably going to have doubled with the soaking, so it's probably going to need a kilo, but we're just going to go 800. All right, I'm just going to put this aside for a second and we're going to weigh out some more of it and let it cool a little bit. So let's put 800 in here and then see what we're left with. I know I should have done this so many different ways and I didn't. So let's get, all right, so that's 800. There's still heaps in here. So as I said, it's probably going to be about a kilo each, I'd imagine. So we'll go a kilo. I must say I got some inconsistent textures towards the top of the Thermomix bowl. There's got a lot more chunks and stuff, and the bottom is smoother. I probably tried to do too much at once because I'm doing the double batch. I probably should have blended them in single batches. All right, so it's an extra 500 grams. So we're going to do an extra 250 on each. So it ended up being about 1,250 grams, which is the soybeans that have been boiled, soaked, as well as some of the liquid too. So it's probably accurate. Like I probably could have worked that out if I really thought about it. All right, so let me wash my hands again. Now I did sanitize my really big bowl because it would give me a lot more room to move my hands around in. And I'm wondering if I'm going to need that to be able to blend it. It says just to use your hands, gloves if you want, and we need to get it all blended together basically like a peanut butter consistency was the direction. So let me take my watch off actually. So I have made this before, but I only made a really small batch, and I used a small kit as well, but it was a few years back and I feel like it wasn't as in depth as this one, but I don't know, it probably was. It was probably just me. My memory is probably flawed on it. I thought it was going to be less of a arduous task, but then I go on and I say, well, I want to do one of each flavour, and then I create the job to make bigger, and then I go, well, I've soaked the beans, but now I have to do all this today as well, and I've soaked the beans, so I got no choice but to and then my SD card gets full, and you know, it's just life around here. So I think that's about right. It says that it's supposed to be peanut butter consistency. It's probably a touch wet. I probably added a touch too much liquid when I was trying to get the beans to blend. So it's probably just a touch tacky, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash my hands, I'll mix the other one up as well, and I'll let it sit and absorb for a little bit, and then we'll start doing the balling for the tubs, because that's the next step, is you need to form it into balls to go into the tub. As I said, I kind of did a double batch, partly because I wanted to try the two different flavors of koji, but also because it's a 6-month process, and it is a fair bit of work, so doing it all at once felt like anyway, I'm gonna leave that. I've got the second bowl here, so I'm going to wash my hands, and then I'm going to blend this one, and then I'll bring it back. So we've got them both blended, and they both appear to be correct. So the next step is to create the balls. Now I'm happy with the texture of these and that. I'm not going to add any more liquid. We've got our sanitized pails here that were wiped out with alcohol, and what we need to do is we need to create tennis ball size balls. So I don't know, how big's a tennis ball? Like, you know. And what you do is you create the tennis size balls, and then you throw it into the bottom and you flatten it. And then you create the next ball. Like that, and you throw it into the bottom and you flatten it. And then you create the next one. Throw it into the bottom and flatten it. And you keep on going until you've done it all. I'm not entirely sure, like, you're flattening it to get the air bubbles out. I know that much. But I'm not entirely sure the purpose of this. I'm wondering if it's to create layers in the ferment, so that there's layers where things grow. Makes sense to me, but I'm not actually sure. I should look it up at some point. But in and then flat. And flat. And then you want to smooth out the whole surface, and we're going to sprinkle it with salt, cover it with plastic, and a weight. All right, so that one's done. Let me wash my hands. Just gonna put that one out of the way and get this one in so that I can tidy up and then move on to the next step. So same thing. Now this one is a little bit firmer textured, and I think that was because this one has more of the chunky beans rather than the really soft ones, because it must have been more of the top of the Thermomix. So that will be interesting to see how much difference that makes in it as well. It definitely feels more peanut buttery than the other one, which felt a bit more wet. But it also feels chunkier. So we will see if that's going to impact things. I did transfer the the curry into the oven in the cast iron the Dutch oven. Words would be great. Because it was just boiling a little too rapidly on the stovetop, and I want to get that meat nice and tender, but I don't want to lose too much liquid. So I've moved it into the oven at about 180, and it can finish cooking in there. All right, let's tidy up a bit. So next step is to sprinkle with some salt. Now I'm just going to wipe some excess splatter off the sides as well, actually. Clean hands, obviously. I just sanitize them again. And I just want to take any off there. All right. Now we want about a tablespoon of salt over the surface, and we want to make sure that it's very much covering the edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it sort of liberally around the edge first, just like that, not overdone. Probably end up with about a tablespoon and a half after all that on the surface. We can do the same thing here. Again, about a tablespoon and a half, spread across, edges nice and covered. All right. Next, we need to cover it with plastic. So we want some cling wrap, but I want to take, obviously, the external layer off and use a fresh internal layer, except this one has some damage to it. See, it's got like a big melty spot, which has gone through quite a significant amount of layers. I can probably still manage to, if I can, nope, see it's got another melty spot further down. So there's 2 spots it's tearing, which means it's probably not going to get it large enough for the surface area. Improvise. Let's take a Ziploc bag so we know the inside's nice and clean. And if we slice it open and then in half as well, then use that to coat the surface. That will work. So we're using the inside of the Ziploc bag, which was nice and clean, against the salt anyway, and it actually sits quite nicely. And then we're going to, and you don't want the lids aren't going to be sealed snug either, so this works fine for that. And then we need a weight. So what we might do is we've got these Ziploc bags that came with the kit, and we need 400 grams, about 20% of weight, I think it was. 20% of the total miso weight. So we went, what did we have? We had 1.25 in beans, plus the 500 grams, 1.75, 1.8, 10% of that is about 400 grams. So, yep. So they just used salt, which I think maybe there was supposed to be enough salt in the kit, but I don't think there will have been left in the end. Let's have a look. Oops, I'm doing well. Yeah, it's only 180 odd grams, but that's fine because we have bulk salt. So 400 grams of salt in this bag, and I'll just take the air out of it, and then we will spread that out over the plastic that's already there to create that sort of a seal. It's not a true seal though, because you do want airflow. The whole point is that we're not closing this completely because we do want some airflow. So we're going to do that with this one as well. We've got the other Ziploc bag here, zeroed out. We'll put 400 grams in that too. There we go. So we've got 400 grams of salt in that one too. Get the air out. And then we will use that one to hold the other plastic in place like that. And we will again put the lid on and just go click, but not fully clicked. Now, when I store these long term, I'm going to put them in a Hessian bag or something. Like I'm going to put them in something else. For the moment though, I need to find some cheesecloth or something to wrap them in, and then somewhere to store them where there's airflow but not too much light. And it's going to be 6 months worth. So, but for today, I'm just going to stick them inside the dehydrator, turned off obviously, just as a safe, secure, clean environment for them to just sit in and get going. And that's it. After about 3 months, we take the weight off, we check the surface, remove any mold if there is any mold, visible mold, and then we put a fresh piece of paper or cling wrap on there. I did just read I could have used cooking paper, so I could have used baking paper, it's fine. And then it sits for another 3 months. So for the moment, I'm going to mark it down on my phone that today was the day that we started it, and 3 months' time we'll check on it. So long-winded, I know, but it'll be worth it. I think my mic's flat, but we'll see. The curry's been in the oven all this time. I need to turn it down a bit. It's still not quite tender enough, but I need to turn it down. But it probably only needs an extra 45 minutes, which brings us to 5 o'clock, which is right. But I'm going to add a tin of coconut cream to it and mix that through and stick it back in at about the 170 odd, maybe, for 45 minutes. And of course, the spoon doesn't fit in the... So I might have a look at the consistency, because I might add 2. Because I made quite a big, like there was a lot of beef in it and it's reduced quite a lot. No, probably not. It's probably plenty. So I'm going to throw it back in the oven at 175 odd. If you want to taste it, grab a spoon, you can taste it if you want. And we'll just let it keep tenderizing. And dinner's done. So the curry came out of the oven and it's tender. The beef is really tender now, so we are happy with that, though apparently it's a little bit spicy and I'll just have to deal with it. I've got basmati rice absorption method on the stove done for everyone, and then I did some cauliflower rice for Darryl as well. Yeah. So that is what we're doing. There had been heaps else that I had planned to get done today, with the whole catching up, but I didn't manage it because I think the miso was a lot more in depth than I had really expected it to be, and I got started late and just life in general. So I'm going to leave it there for today and get this edited tonight and up tomorrow morning, because I've been so slack with videos. And then tomorrow we've got the hamper, so I will film the hamper and get that out, say Sunday, and then I'll try and do my Sunday chat and catch up and put that out Monday or something. So maybe you'll get 3 videos in a row. That wouldn't be, that'd be odd for me lately. So thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for checking in, anyone who's checked in to see how I'm doing, and I will see you on the next one.